Should I do that? Is that a bad idea?
It's 3 bits.
It's really not rocket science. Okay, so let's do it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It'll be fine. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we're working through a renovation on this 1956 Calcraft. In season 1 of our channel, we did a total renovation of a 1968 Playmore Model 140. So this is our new project for season 2. Last week on the channel, I cut this little pile of wood here, which is going to make up the driver's side wall. And I used my little SketchUp drawing that I made based on measurements I took from the camper when I originally took this apart. So now we're gonna start putting it back together. So this week we'll take that pile of wood and we will make some pocket holes and attach it together like I did on this little test piece. I'll be using my handy dandy Craig jig that I got last year for Christmas. And we will be using ceramic coated, or not ceramic coated, what are these coated? Blue coat finish. I don't know if it's ceramic or not. I'm not sure really what this stuff is, but we'll be using these blue coated screws to put it together because those are the ones that you really want to use for exterior projects. They're designed to not corrode and rust like a regular steel screw would, and that's kind of important when these are holding together the framing for your wall. You don't want those to start loosening up after a while. We will be gluing the interior panel to these studs, so you know, even if those did loosen up, they're not really going to go anywhere because they will be attached to that interior wall. I'm just going to take all of those pieces and I'm going to drill the pocket holes in them first, and then we will lay them out, get them in their exact right spot, and start screwing them together. I think that's the idea anyway. Okay, so I've got everything kind of laid out again, and yeah, it sort of confirmed one of my suspicions. Looking at the angle on one of these pieces right there, and it's a much steeper angle than the ones next to it, which said to me that something wasn't quite right, because obviously it's supposed to be a nice smooth curve. You're not supposed to have sudden, you know, it's going along and then whoop. But, you know, once you actually put it together, you really see it. The other thing that's a problem is my thicker vertical that runs right in the middle has developed a split in it, and it probably happened when I went from, you know, keeping these in the cold basement to outside in like 100-degree heat. So I'm gonna have to recut that. And the other one was one that I kind of worried about. It was another thicker, longer piece, and it had several knots in it. And, you know, I probably should have known it wasn't good to use, but I was kind of hoping that it'd be okay. But it has definitely developed a bit of a kink in it right where the biggest knot hole is. So I'm going to have to recut that one. So I'm going to cut 2 big pieces, which that's going to use up one more 2x4. Then I'm going to figure out what I did wrong on my measurement on that one piece and correct that. Okay, here we are. Back in the basement. Back to the basement. That's a joke because I spent so much time in the basement working on the windows on our last camper. And I've got a big stack of windows right there, so. Okay, so I don't know if you can see what I did there, but this is what we call a screw up. We're gonna be spending a lot of time in the basement, I'm afraid. So I've brought down the 3 pieces that are incorrect. I've figured out what my actual measurements on that one piece should be, and I'm just gonna remake those other 2 pieces, hopefully out of better quality wood. Okay, now here's where things get a tad trickier. I have to make sure that the spacing is right on each one of these. So I went back to my SketchUp and I measured the spaces between all of them, and I printed that off. And I printed it off facing the correct way that I'm going to make it. So I need to make it this way because that sheet of plywood is going to go on this surface. So if I make it the other way, then I got to pick it up, flip it over before I can put the plywood down. It's always best to do this on a surface that you know to be flat. I know this pad of concrete to be relatively flat. I thought about doing it under the carport over there, but it's not supposed to rain for a couple of days. So even if I didn't get this all finished up today, it would be okay if I left it overnight, and I can finish it up tomorrow. So I'm going to get started. And I'm going to start with this bottom plate because it attaches to the wheel arch, and then everything kind of builds off of that, and I can keep it square working from there. Okay, so let's do it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It'll be fine.
Some broken clouds. Will we find a way to live without the falling rain? Always. Walking around.
Okay, so what can I say about pocket holes? They could be easier. The way I'm doing them is a little bit tricky because my wood's kind of narrow. It'd be hard to put two on the top, so I've got two on the sides, which means I gotta always think about clearance to get the drill in there. But I'm missing my F piece, and I'm not sure what that's about. I'm not sure where. Maybe I just left it in the basement. I need to go look. One thing I did, I tried to pick it up and I broke one of the pieces, so I gotta cut another piece for that. So this is a learning process. Overall, pretty happy with how it's working out. Okay, well there you have it. All the pieces for one wall. Fairly happy with that. Think I'll call it a night.
Wow. We're gonna start building 8, 9, and 6. So 3 bits. Some 3 bits. Here? No. It don't.
Okay, so with several of these pieces of 1/8" plywood cut down to width, we can start making our curve. And it's not too hard. So you start with the first one, kind of tack it in place, put a bunch of glue on your next one, tack it in place, etc., until you've got them all built up. Come in and attach some clamps to keep it nice and secure while the glue sets up, and that's pretty much it. The trick is finding out where to break them, because obviously there's nothing there for that to attach to, so I'll have to cut these back to where they break there so I can overlap the next one, and so on and so forth. It's not rocket science. Okay, so once you get to 4 layers or so, it goes a lot quicker because you can start stapling the layers to themselves. You don't have to hit a stud every time. And that kind of cuts down on having to move the clamps around so much. But it's still a good idea to put a clamp on there if you can, because wood glue works the best when it's clamped nice and securely. I'm going to take a break because it is really hot and humid out here, but so far so good. Looks really nice. it's gonna be hot. Yeah, I'm gonna try to knock this out real quick before it gets any hotter. And why am I doing this? Why don't I just raise this up? I've got a few more layers to put on that curve, and then I'm gonna call this done, and I'm gonna move it out of the elements so it doesn't get all rained on, and yeah, move on from there.
Ooh, I'm just a human in motion. Yeah, I'm looking ahead, looking out for someone like you. Maybe someday.
Okay, here's the moment of truth. I gotta stand it up and move it.
I can see it all clear from above. Looking back on it all.
Okay, pretty good. Now I just gotta store it in the garage because it's supposed to rain.
But it's a lonely calling. Yeah, it's a lonely calling.
Piece of cake. Okay, so there's rain on the way, and I've got one more band to do around the outside to build up the final thickness. So I'm going to try to pull this out of the garage real quick, lay it back down on the driveway, and get that last little bit put on, be done with that side. So let's get to it.
Some broken clouds. Will we find a way to live without the falling rain? Always.
Oh man, I tell you what, it is hot, it is humid. Doesn't matter what you do outside, you're gonna be sweating in no time. That wall is ready for the plywood face to go on. So I'm gonna have to pick this up and get it back in the garage, put it away, keep it safe. I am really tempted to set it up on the camper just for a second to see what it looks like. Should I do that? Is that a bad idea? All right, so there you have it. It doesn't really fit under the canopy, so eventually I'll probably wind up raising that up a little bit. These things are just attached to the ground with those guy wires, so it doesn't really matter if you set those on blocks or raise them up. Pretty happy with how that turned out. Hope that answers maybe one of the most commonly asked questions. How are you gonna make that curve? Can't wait to see you make that curve. And yeah, that's how we do it. So I hope you found that interesting, because you're gonna get to see me do it again. So I'll try to jazz that up some way. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching. New videos come out every Sunday, so make sure and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.